So I am Morgan Johnston. I'm with Facilities and Services, and I've been on campus my entire life. I am the Director of Sustainability for FNS, the Associate Director of FNS, and I'm affiliated with the Institute for Sustainability, Energy, and Environment. I'm going to give you an overview of what we're doing for renewable energy on campus and how it connects to the overall campus commitments, what we're doing now, and what our goals are in the next 5 years and beyond. So let's jump right in. The University of Illinois at Urbana-Champaign signed a commitment in 2008 that we will be carbon neutral as soon as possible. The first step is to identify where our carbon emissions, our greenhouse gas emissions are coming from, then develop a plan for what to do about that, and then continuously monitor where we're at with our emissions and how we're doing on the plan. So in 2008, when we signed that commitment, and it was a higher education consortium across the United States, we developed what was the Office of Sustainability, and then now that has morphed into and grown into the Institute for Sustainability, Energy, and Environment, or ISEE. It is a big deal on campus. If you haven't gone out and looked at ISEE's website, you should. It's got a lot of information about research and teaching efforts. There's a new minor, and then our climate action plan, which is the document of what we believe we can do in order to meet our carbon neutral goals as soon as possible. We did put a deadline of 2050, but that was just, it was actually the farthest away we could put it when we signed up because we weren't sure how we were going to be able to do this. So it really is as soon as we can and no later than 2050. Well, in 2010, we wrote our first Illinois Climate Action Plan. 5 years later, just last year, 2015, we did an update to the plan. We took what did we learn, what was working and needed to be expanded, what new things did we need to incorporate, and we have the new 2015 ICAP, Illinois Climate Action Plan. And it has so many projects since 2010 that we have actually worked with MSTE to develop an ICAP portal that is tracking what projects are out there, what are we doing about different things, and these are some of the topics that we are categorizing all the different things into. I could go on just about these topics for hours, but you know, there's everything from recycling to water, native plants, and then energy and education and bicycles, et cetera. It's all part of the campus sustainability actions. Click. So in order to continuously check on how we're doing and what we're trying to, or how we're going and what we need to be doing, we've actually set up these sustainability working advisory teams. It's called, affectionately known as SWAT teams. And there are 6 different topical teams. They're comprised of, let's see if the mouse works, 2 faculty, 2 staff, and 2 students, so that we have a cross-representation of campus players, stakeholders. And then these 6 people also have a student clerk who helps track what they're doing and is going to be putting the information onto the ICAP portal so you can see what's been happening with the different SWAT teams. And a larger consultation group, which is anybody who wants to get to know what's going on and wants to give suggestions and ideas. The SWAT teams meet at least once a month. They check our progress towards the ICAP objectives, and they help us make good decisions when we come to, well, should we look at this one or this one, and we want to get feedback from the sustainability community. So if you want to be interested in, or if you want to be involved in campus sustainability, the best thing to do is to look into talking to the SWAT teams and then to participate at, you know, the annual events on Earth Week and Sustainability Week. So that's just the overview of our commitments and what we're doing about them. We do have some that are specifically about renewable energy. So what is renewable energy? We're really gotten to the point where we are looking at clean energy or low carbon energy, and there's all kinds of things. There's wind power, there's solar power, there's biomass, geothermal, and then there's opportunities to purchase solar energy from other people through a power purchase agreement, or renewable energy, excuse me, through power purchase agreements where they actually are generating it somewhere else, and then we have an agreement that we'll buy that and get to count it as our electricity. Or we can buy just the green attributes, where we just buy the regular electricity off the grid or however we're producing it ourselves and pay for the rights to call it clean energy. And that's a very large discussion that we could do a whole hour just about what are renewable energy certificates and pros and cons there. But all of these together are options. When the university started doing renewable energy, last year when we bought a round of renewable energy certificates, we actually qualified to be a EPA Green Power Partner. And so now we have that commitment, which is actually a minimum of 3% renewables for electricity over the course of a year. And this is a screenshot from the portal, the ICAP portal, showing existing renewable energy projects on campus. I don't know how well you can see where this is, but here's Springfield University. So this up here is the North Campus parking deck, the electrical computer engineering building, Uni High is in this area. And then we have the business instructional facility, the campus rec center has solar, and there's some at the Building Research Council, and this is the solar farm site. This is a biomass boiler that's planned at the energy farm. So these are existing or planned projects that are in the works at various stages. Some of them have been there for a while, some of them are no. And if you went to the portal, you could click on it and get more detail about it from there. So my favorite is the most recent one, is the solar farm. And the solar farm is the largest contiguous on-campus solar farm array that's being used by the campus itself, not sold to other people, and in the Big Ten. We actually, for about a day, it was actually one day, we were the biggest in the country, but then UC Davis finalized theirs, which is 60 acres, ours is 20 acres. But that's California, so I think we could still be proud, especially with in the Big Ten side. Sometimes people think that solar energy is free, and it's true that the fuel source for solar energy is free because it's the sun, but the cost of installing solar panels, you have to buy the panels, you have to connect them to your grid, you have to tilt them at the right angle, you have to have the land. Right now, in our area of the country, it costs more to use solar power than to just buy it from Ameren or through MISO. And so when we were looking at getting the solar farm on campus, we used the understanding that we have a goal. We had a goal for last year of 5% renewable electricity. And we have commitments, all those commitments I ran through at the beginning here. And so when we looked at the total cost of the solar farm project over a 20-year life, we used 20 because that's how long the panels are warrantied. We believe they'll last much longer, but we went with the life of the warranty, or the extended warranty, because there's also inverters that have different warranties. And the difference between what we project the solar farm to cost, which we're paying based on how much it produces, we have a cost per kilowatt hour. The difference between that projection and what we project conventional electricity to cost is $5.3 million for 20 years, total. And we think that the solar farm total cost is about $15.5 million because of the amount it'll produce each year and the inverter warranties. Then we think that the amount that we the cost that we would be paying for grid electricity is what we were paying in the daytime, because it's only going to offset our daytime purchases. And when you think about the future cost of electricity over 20 years, there's no crystal ball, right? We don't know the answer, and so what we've used is the 3% inflation rate, which it's one rule of thumb, but we won't really know the actual cost until it's 20 years from now. So these are projections and estimates, and so because most of the 15.5 is just replacing an existing cost, when we were looking for the funding to implement it, we needed the difference, which in this case is $5.3 million. We had, so I hope you guys are all familiar with the Student Sustainability Committee. It's actually one of the largest green funds from student operations in the country, and they allocate about $1 million a year towards campus sustainability projects. They had, and that's $1 million per year, but they actually contributed $1 million to this project. They did it over the course of 3 years in order to support it, and that's $1.05 million. That's a typo. It's not 1.05K. It's 1.05M. And then the remainder was approved by the Provost's office to be out, I believe it was the Provost's office, to be funded from the campus utilities budget, which is $4.25 million. So the cost of energy on campus did go up very slightly. $4.25 million total over 20 years on the utilities budget, when the utilities budget is about $90 million per year now. So it's actually a really small percentage, but it was an up, not a down. And so past the numbers, we have, this is the area that the solar farm's at. This is Windsor Road and First Street and the railroad tracks and Neal Street. There is a pond at the corner of First and Windsor. This shows the floodplain because we originally thought we might be able to put some panels down here as well, but you can't because of the floodplain. You don't want solar panels to get flooded. It's not a good idea. So we gave this area to the developer, and they've installed the panels in this approximate configuration. It is 20 acres. It is 5.87 megawatts direct current, and it is going to produce 7.8 million kilowatt hours per year. What's that mean? That's about 700 typical American homes. It would generate 7,800 renewable energy certificates if we felt like selling them, which we don't because we want to use it ourselves. And it is fairly large. So the fun part here, let's see if the arrows will do it. No. Oh. It went twice. Okay. This is the corner. So if you came in the entry road on First Street here, off of First Street, there's an entry road here. And from right at this spot, looking basically towards the corner of Windsor and Neal. We have a series of the pictures while we developed it. You guys are the first to see. So here's July 30th. Can you picture where we're looking here? And what? Very little has happened. They've brought a storage shed, I think. Here is the August 6th, and you can see they've started, I know it's kind of far away, they've started to clear the land, do the grading of the ground cover. So that's what this dark space here is. And they've brought in some of the materials. August 13th, they've gotten farther in the land, and they're, you can't see it on that side, but you can almost see this fence getting set up. See these poles here? Can you guys see them? Okay. And oh, you can see it better over here. It's the fence and the silt barrier to protect the pond. So here's the fence all the way put up, and they're still moving over here, and you start to see sort of lines. I don't know if you can see those lines. It gets a little easier to see when it gets closer. There we go. Okay, so this is September 3, and these are tiny little poles. Now, I don't know if any of you got a chance to go out there when they were working on putting them in, but it almost looked like a popsicle garden with all the candy eaten. There were just poles everywhere. And these are where they've laid out, where the poles are lying on the ground, and then this machine picks it up and jabs it into the ground. And actually, it was a auger, or it spins in, so it screws in, which is great because you don't have all the pounding of hammering. Like if you've ever been near a construction project, there's lots of noise. This one didn't have a lot of noise, which is pretty cool. And okay, September 10, we have, they're starting to install the inverters. There are 3 of them out there. 1, 2, 3. There's an inverter and a transformer, and I cannot explain the technical side of that at all. So don't ask me those questions. And then these are those poles are getting closer. There's some right all the way to here. And I think, so September 17th, September 24th. Oh, let me back up one. Yeah, so on the 17th, you can start seeing the solar panels in the corner. That's some of them. These are the stacks of the panels. They come in on a semi-truck with 3 together as one module, and then they have a little pole that just sticks down the side of them to keep them from falling off the truck. And so it's on a pallet. There's a pallet of panels. September 24, you can see there's more coming in over here. And this is one of the stacks of those poles. They're getting closer over here. Here's the machine. So this is October 1, and they just pick up the little pole and screw it right down in there. October 8. Over here, the panels, when they put them in, it is a set of just 3. 1, 2, 3. I'll show a closer picture. And they basically, these poles are sticking up in the ground, and it's like taking a book, and they reach over, they set it on top, and they hook it together. It's a lot like watching somebody build a Lego building, because it's just, you take it off, you stick it on there, they hook it, and they go to the next one and stick it on there. Each one of these that they set had 3 modules. And this solar farm ended up having 18,867 modules, which I found incredibly interesting because the university was founded in 1867, and this is 18,867, so just kind of fun. This is the machine where they were they had the 4-person lift where they would lift up the panel and set it down. And this machine here is only just pulling the panels on the pallet out of their way. So it's just moving it close. October 15, they're getting close to the end here. And October 22, they had them all, well, there's more over to the side off the picture, but this section's all complete. The next thing they did, though, was they had to go through and connect underneath the panels. They're sort of pre-wired, but they have to connect them, and it's a lot like just plugging in extension cords almost. So it's October 29. So these guys are working through connecting them, and they also, the poles at first were just, like I said, popsicle sticks standing up, but they actually did wiring to hold them more steady, and so they had to connect the cables underneath them that were just really just structural cables, not electrical cables. And here's November 12th when they had leveled the panels. They kind of tightened it up a little bit. At first they looked really wobbly, and now they're, or not wobbly, but bumpy. And now they're straight. And then the next one is the ribbon cutting, which was on November 19th. So this is our chancellor, interim chancellor, Barb Wilson. And this is our president, actual president, Timothy Killeen. They were both very excited to see this, which I think is really important for our campus commitments, because one of the things is we make these commitments and they're made by an authority figure, and when that person leaves, the next person inherits the commitment. So these two leaders of our campus and university inherited the commitment. They inherited the solar farm had been approved before they both started, and yet they were very excited to see it happen. And so we know that it's, or that's a positive. That's something we want to see happen more and more. So,
can I ask about soil settling and flooding and? I mean, I know Illinois ground. You know, it's hot. What's the anticipated problems or lack thereof?
So the part about the soil settling, just the height of it,
Yeah, because you're
that
depending
component,
on the poles, right?
yeah, that part of it is you're not.
Should be separate.
Yeah, we shouldn't have an issue with that,
Okay.
because the lower end of the panels is actually about 18 inches off the ground. So even if there's a little bit of movement there, even if it was 5 inches, you're still not going to end up getting into the dirt for that. Flooding, I don't know the details of it, but we had a drainage consultant. Yeah, there's a drainage plan.
Well, I guess what I'm thinking is, if you've got thousands of poles sitting here, this pole starts to sink and this one doesn't, then you got your panels
Yeah.
going wacko. Is that when you start tinkering and playing with the wiring, or?
Yeah, the maintenance of it is, you're kind of getting into how do you maintain that it's,
I guess.
it is, because if,
Keep it smooth.
yeah, it doesn't have to, I mean, they don't have to be smooth,
Smooth it.
but you don't want to twist them out of
Right.
shape, right? Just like if you want them to be relatively flat and facing south. We don't want them to start facing to the east more than to the south. So the maintenance and how we're going to maintain it is kind of a future issue for us because of the way we set it up. It's actually a power purchase agreement. So we are leasing the land to the owner, which is the vendor, and it's actually a limited liability corporation. It's South Farm Solar Farm LLC.
How many of these have they
Phoenix
put
South
up
Farms.
in the Midwest or northern Midwest?
This
versus-
particular vendor, you mean, or solar in general? Which one do you mean?
Well, anybody, whoever's
Just-
doing
yeah.
this, a large solar panel farm that isn't in Arizona where it's
Oh, yeah.
dry and.
Yeah, so we have quite a few in the sense of it's not extremely odd, right?
Okay.
But one of the things that question, the best way to really answer, I think, the core question of that is the latitude of where we're at with how much sun do we get, right? So we're at Illinois, and we have a lot of sun. We have decent sun, but Arizona has more, right? Well, if you look at how much sun we get compared to Germany, it's very similar, and they have solar all over the place. And I think that the only reason, my opinion is that the reason that we haven't really seen a lot of solar in this area is what I was talking about where it costs more right now. So on the coasts, they're getting more and more and more solar because the price of solar has gone down, and their energy costs from conventional grid electricity is now more, than solar, and they're saving money to do it. We're doing it because it's necessary because of climate change and our campus commitments.
Farmland you use for it.
Yeah.
I guess I was thinking more maintenance and harsh weather. I mean, in Germany and Europe, you've got small little, I mean, I doubt they don't have a place flat enough for as big as what, is what you got.
Well,
I'm just curious on maintenance and what the history is.
So the maintenance for us, this power purchase agreement that I was starting to say, is actually they're responsible for maintaining it. So the entire time of our agreement, it's a 10-year agreement, they maintain it. And we had a few questions when we were setting it up, which was a long process, about, well, will they be motivated to maintain it well, right? And but we're only paying for what they supply to us. So if let's say an inverter goes down. So now they're giving us 2/3 instead of all of the power because their connection's messed up. Well, they're highly motivated to fix that because we're only paying for what we actually get. So the vendor that we have the agreement with is motivated to make sure that they maintain it at a strong level. But there are times like the recent snow. We weren't getting solar power during that snow because it was covered by snow, right? And there's not a system in place that would say, well, let's go out there and clean off that snow. We just wait for the weather to naturally let it melt and use it again that way. So I don't know more details than that. This is the real time. If we look at the day today, you can see apparently there was a bit of a shadow at around 10 or 11. This is how much it has produced. Looks like the sun came up around 7-ish, right? So this is the production, and then we have how much total was produced so far today. Or no, this is right now. The current production is at 3.03 megawatts. So far today is 12 megawatt hours. We can go to a week, which I think is more interesting personally because a day is just, there's the sun. But here with the week, we could look at, okay, on the 26th, it was kind of a dreary day, and on the 28th, yesterday, it was nice and sunny. And you can see how that impacts the solar. This does go back, and we haven't had it up and running for a year, but it goes back by month over time. And let's see, month. So here's the last 30 days. This is the snow. See? Now, this is their standard dashboard. We have on our campus a lot of detailed data about our energy. There's something called the Illini Energy Dashboard that has real-time electricity, steam, and chilled water meters for various buildings on campus. And it shows this history, and it's coming out of the utilities data historian. This is the typical product that comes with the solar farm, but we're also getting that data into our computer system, and we're working on a system that we can share where it's sort of answering the questions that our campus wants to know. So for example, right now, this is just what's from the solar farm, but we have these other places. Let me get back to the PowerPoint. That's if I couldn't get the website. We have these other places where we have solar. We'd like to get all of our solar together and be able to share a single, here's where we're at, here's how it compares to a total electricity on campus, here's what it means and what it has offset using our emissions data, things like that. So what we have on this site is just the basics. Yes, we know some information and you can see it, but we're working towards a more robust solution. It's probably not till next year because we have some basic database changes that need to happen. So moving on, we do have a lot of photovoltaics in various places. Most of those images on the map at the beginning were photovoltaics. We also have solar thermal which is where it's still taking the energy from the sun, but it's not converting it to electricity. It's using it to heat a fluid that then we're using to heat the pools at the Activities Rec Center. And that's the kind of thing that we did it, we love it, and we're looking at expanding it. Are there other pools on campus that we want to do that with? And are there places that maybe the park districts could do it? Things like that. The most recent change on the campus buildings was that Uni High got some solar arrays at their gym, and that was through a grant from the Illinois Clean Energy Community Foundation, which has helped us with a number of other projects, mostly energy conservation projects. But the Illinois Clean Energy Community Foundation is currently evaluating whether to give us funding in support of the biomass boiler for the energy farm, and They've talked with us and they're interested, and we're hoping to get additional funds from them in order to implement biomass. I was talking about the renewable energy certificates, and we set a goal for 2015 to have 5% renewables, and we thought we might have the solar farm up and that it might give us enough. But neither of those came to fruition, and so we ended up getting renewable energy certificates. And this is what we did historically. Moving forward, we are looking at trying to get much more solar production on campus. You alluded to the quality of our farmland. Yes, we love our farmland, and so we don't really want another solar farm. We'd much rather see solar on rooftops, on parking structures. We're focused right now on roofs. Here, let me go to that page. Roofs, and there's so many limitations about how you put solar on the roof. What kind of roof is it? How old is it? Is there simple access? Does that particular building have the electrical capacity to route the solar to the campus grid? And how much sun does that particular building get, and which material is that roof? So what we did was we had a student project for a master's program evaluate all our roofs. And it wasn't the structural side, but it was the capacity. And then we had the architecture review committee take a look at the top 30 buildings, and reduce it by the ones that are on the historic register limitations. There's a lot of different factors that are involved in that. And now we're getting into identifying the locations where we can actually go and do an engineering study of is it structurally strong enough, and how much would it cost to install. But we don't have any money set aside for it, and so we're doing as much planning as we can right now. And the Student Sustainability Committee is looking at one roof, or they're looking at a couple roofs that they might support financially, and we're just getting into the how do we do the roof side. I'm going to not explain that, but we can talk about that afterwards if anyone wants to stay. We also have a goal of 120,000 megawatt hours of clean energy total by FY20, so the next 5-year goal. And we said low carbon energy because there's a chance that campus would be okay with doing a power purchase agreement for nuclear if the nuclear plants are feasible options. We're going to look at the different pricing options. What we're doing right now towards this goal is a wind power purchase agreement. We've agreed that we want to enter into a power purchase agreement for wind power where we buy the electricity and the renewable energy credits, certificates, from a local wind farm, so one in Illinois, and it would be a 10-year agreement, and we would buy all the wind. We've learned a lot about what that means. You have to buy it when the wind blows, whether or not you need it. You have to take it. And so then there will be times when we don't need it because the wind blows a lot in the winter at night when we don't have almost anything running during the winter break for school. And so we'll be buying it at the fixed rate, and we'll sell it back at the real-time market rate, maybe the day-ahead price. So there's a lot of little factors that go into that particular one. That's what we're in the middle of now. And we still do need to have more campus discussion about how valuable is it for us to invest in things like renewable energy certificates. They're currently maybe $1 per renewable energy certificate. And so to get 120,000 megawatt hours of clean energy by buying RECs would be $120,000 per year. And that's a lot less than a $15 million solar farm. So there's a lot of, but it doesn't necessarily, there's nothing that says that buying RECs in this area actually reduce global emissions. And so there's a lot of opinions about that we could get into as a campus in order to know how to meet this one. And then the last thing I really want to make sure I put in a plug for is the regional solar project that's been going on. The city of Urbana actually got a grant from the Department of Energy, or through the Department of Energy, that is for solar Urbana-Champaign. And I don't know if any of you have seen any of the signs about this. It's a bulk purchase. So if you or someone you know and care and can pressure has a home or a business inside Champaign County, there's currently a system in place to help you get solar on your roof at a previously agreed to discounted rate. And then also the sort of the technical experts out there to help with getting the tax incentive and using the one-time solar REC sale that's available. So basically, if you've been thinking about doing solar, or you know someone who's been thinking about doing solar, go to a solar power hour with the Solar Urbana-Champaign and look at it, because now's the time. It actually, if I were going to put solar on my house and none of this was out there, it would probably cost about $15,000. But with all these things that are in place through this program, or that are collected through this program, it would only be like $4,000 for the same amount of energy. And so this is a really good program that's out there. The next event is Tuesday at Krannert Center, 7 o'clock, Krannert Center, Solar Power Hour. And I'll give you an email too about it so that we can spread the news. That's it. Okay, thank you.